On the surface, luxury looks like a design business. It isn't. Paris, Milan, Geneva, 2024. The real asset is controlled shortage. A handbag, a watch, a silk scarf. Nice objects. The money comes from deciding who cannot have one today. Bernard Arnault understood that earlier than most. So did Axel Dumas.
Arnault built LVMH into a federation of desire with central capital discipline.
Dumas runs Hermes with the patience of a family owner protecting a franchise, not chasing a quarter. Different temperaments. Similar economic instincts. Around them sit the quieter players, store managers on Avenue Montaigne, merchandising chiefs in Milan, Swiss allocators deciding which dealer receives 6 steel sports watches instead of 12. The room also includes landlords, tannery owners, celebrity agents, and, on bad days, customs officials and anti-counterfeit lawyers. The setup began long before social media. Luxury houses learned that broad distribution cheapens the badge faster than poor stitching. Department stores once carried too much power. Discount channels did worse. The prior lesson, mostly forgotten, came in the logo glut of the late 1990s and early 2000s. That cycle taught management a costly truth. Volume can flatter the income statement while poisoning the brand on page 2 of the board deck. When every outlet mall carries the monogram, the multiple contracts. Scarcity is not romance. It is takeover defense for the margin line. Then digital media arrived and made the machine stronger. Instagram widened aspiration across continents, while production stayed deliberately narrow. Demand scaled globally. Supply remained provincial, artisanal, and heavily managed. The old houses discovered a modern pleasure, viral attention with pre-industrial output, a rare combination. The model is simple enough to fit on a single term sheet. Keep supply below visible demand. Raise price ahead of inflation. Limit wholesale. Protect full price sell-through. Use entry products such as fragrance or small leather goods to widen the funnel without flooding the flagship categories. Hermes remains the cleanest example. In recent years, its leather goods and saddlery division has posted operating margins most industrial CEOs would frame in the lobby. The famous Birkin and Kelly are not merely bags. They are allocation instruments. Is part Q management, part status certification. LVMH runs a broader version. Louis Vuitton avoids markdown culture with almost religious discipline. Selective distribution does the heavy lifting. Fewer doors, tighter merchandising, regular price increases, and aggressive control over resale optics. The product leaves the atelier once. The pricing halo keeps working for years. Watchmaking uses the same arithmetic with Swiss accents. Rolex does not publish much, which has always been part of the charm. Authorized dealers receive constrained allocations. Stainless steel sports models become social currency. Secondary market premiums then perform unpaid marketing. Nothing improves desire like public evidence of exclusion. The friction begins when growth investors meet finite craft capacity. A tannery can add shifts. A trained leather artisan cannot be produced by PowerPoint. Board members eventually ask the obvious question: why not double output while demand is hot? It seems there is no additional text provided. If you'd like me to continue from any previous content, or if you have more text to share, feel free to let me know. That is where disciplined houses separate from tourist management. There is also legal and reputational strain. Scarcity can drift into theater if customers suspect manipulation without craftsmanship behind it. Wholesale partners complain. Antitrust eyes occasionally narrow. Resellers exploit gaps. Counterfeiters thrive where official supply stays tight. Every successful luxury system attracts an industrious black market in parallel. The hardest call comes in softer economies. Traffic weakens in Shanghai, Seoul, or San Francisco. Finance suggests promotions. Brand leadership resists. I have sat through those arguments in other sectors. The room knew before the press knew. One markdown can stain 5 years of pricing discipline. When the model holds, the result is extraordinary. Gross margins stay thick. Working capital behaves. CapEx remains selective because growth does not require a store on every corner. Investors pay for resilience. A brand with controlled scarcity can look cyclical from the sidewalk and wonderfully annuitor-like in the spreadsheet. The first earnings call after a strong price round usually sounds almost dull. That is a compliment. Management speaks about craftsmanship, clienteling, and brand elevation. Buried in the numbers sits the real victory. More revenue per unit, less promotional leakage, and inventory that retains dignity instead of begging for clearance. When the model slips, the evidence appears quickly. Gray market inventory rises. Outlet exposure expands. Wholesale partners push for support. Logos spread faster than waiting lists. That is the luxury version of an EBITDA hole. The product still sells, but the aura leaks out through too many doors. I have seen this before in spirits. Diageo and the great houses in Champagne learned long ago that availability must feel earned. Prestige cuvées and top-shelf single malts rely on the same script. Protect the top tier, ration supply, and let aspiration do the expensive marketing. I saw the same pattern in diamonds. De Beers spent decades managing flow, perception, and channel discipline. Different ethics, different era. Same commercial instinct. The pattern is older than the press. When buyers purchase symbolism, controlled supply becomes part of the product specification. 30 years in the room taught me that scarcity only works when management can afford to disappoint this quarter. That requires balance sheet confidence, family control or founder influence, and a board willing to endure complaints from impatient shareholders and offended customers. Nerve matters more than slogans. I have seen this before. Here's what it means. Luxury earns abnormal returns when scarcity is governed like capital allocation and protected like intellectual property. Once management confuses exclusivity with short-term volume, the spell breaks. Who's running this same playbook today?